Hey everyone, you know what I need to do? Be on point when I need to take my graphics down during a live show. Everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and coming in Pacific Standard Time all the way from the beautiful city of the Los Angeles, LA. We got Andy Caldwell on the other end. Andy, how you doing today?
What's up? I'm good, man.
Hey,
Good.
it's been a while since I last had you on the show, almost 8 years. And boy, how time has flown.
Yeah.
What have you been up to, over like 8 years? Just sum it up for us in like 5 seconds. No, I'm just joking. No, I
Whoa.
know you've been a busy guy. And I was going through your socials just recently. And I know you visited that wonderful, wonderful little place over in Spain, Ibiza. I don't know. I've learned to now say Ibiza. I hope I'm saying it right. I used to say Ibiza, but I saw you were over there. And how was it this summer? What's it like over there right now?
And Ibiza, I still call it Ibiza, and I've been going there for almost 20 years. So, but you're correct. You're probably correct. It's probably Ibiza.
Ibiza,
But in Spain, they say Ibiza like that.
Ibiza.
So
Okay.
I'm American, so I'm going to say Ibiza. You know,
Well, now that we've
I don't say burrito. I say burrito.
true. We've expanded the show to be a little bit more international, so I want to be a little bit more accommodating to
Yes,
other people's cultures.
I think that's great. I think that's great, and all about inclusivity for sure.
So,
Um,
what were you doing over there?
So my wife is English, and we went over to London for the first time with our kids in 3 years. One of them has never left, like never been there. He's never met his relatives over there. He's only 2.5. So we took our kids back to England, and I was like, babe, I got to go to Ibiza while we're there. And she was like, you've earned it. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just a vacation. I wasn't there for anything other than like taking in the sights, being, I hadn't been there in 6 or 7 years. So I wanted to see how much it had changed and, see if it still had the magic. And for me, it definitely still did.
Mm-hmm. Describe one of your favorites. What is to you favorite restaurant, favorite nightclub in Ibiza?
Well, good question. So we had this amazing paella. I had paella probably every day, but one of the most amazing ones was in Formentera. My friend chartered a boat, and we took the boat from the marina over to Formentera. It's like a little island right off the coast of Ibiza. Ibiza. I'll try to get the name of it. Man, it was so good. And then it wasn't like, there's like El Chiringuito and Amante and all these like famous, and I've been to these places years ago and they were great then, and I'm sure they're great now, but I wasn't looking to try to recapture the magic. I was looking for what feels right now. And so that was one of the better experiences. And then, I went to a couple of clubs. I went to Chinois. That was pretty cool, but it was a little like, it didn't feel like you were in Ibiza. It felt like you were in Vegas or, almost not quite Vegas, more like LA or San Francisco, or I don't know, just like a fancy nightclub. It didn't have there wasn't anything unique about it. The sound system was really good though. Some of the best music I heard was at this little beach bar over off of the west of San Antonio Bay called Ashram Beach Club, and I watched the sunset there. We had a couple of drinks. It was so nice. It was amazing.
Well, it's very, I've never been there. I plan to hopefully go in 2023. If things go well, I'm going actually to Europe for my first time to go to ADE this year.
Nice.
And we got some things we're working on. We were planning on doing something big for it this year with our brand, and then I realized after talking to people, a lot of people that have been years and years in the past are like, just go have fun and walk around. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to put too much on your plate. You'll burn yourself out because you're going to be networking with so many people during the day. You're going to be partying so much at night. We do have a partnership we're working on right now with a pretty big thing. I can't say on camera who's with because the ink isn't dry, but
Okay.
the blessing is there, and it looks like, fingers crossed, it's gonna happen. When it does, we're gonna announce it. But super excited. I've never been to Europe, never been overseas, and
Wow.
we're gonna be one of the. I mean, I've been to North American stuff, but I've never been to get that European passport and to make ADE our solidified one. And one of the things that happens when things go well, because I know they will for us there, we will be then attending possibly South by Southwest, Winter Music Conference, IMS, and ADE every year, going on the road with a certain brand. And it'll be really awesome to be part of that and be in the mix and kind of get out there in the world and see what's up. Because I'm a West Coast kid. I lived here my entire life, and grew up in Seattle, Washington. And it wasn't until last year that I went to New York for the first time as an adult. And I went to the Brooklyn Mirage. And that kind of just changed my perspective on nightclubs and super clubs, and to me, what a nightclub outdoor experience could be. I had, there's not a lot of places like that hold 5,000 people, or double venue that hold 10,000 plus people, like the Brooklyn Mirage. So it kind of just changed it for me. And again, I never felt that it was a Vegas-y experience in any way, shape, or form. I felt it was very unique and was kind of setting the bar. And speaking of Ibiza, over the last couple of years, there's a little city out of Mexico, you probably heard about it, called Tulum. And it has also been described as kind of becoming the new Ibiza or Ibiza. Have you heard anything of that, or can you attest to that?
Well, look, I've been going to both Tulum and Ibiza actually, I started going to Tulum. My first trip there was in 1988. So
wow.
I have some authority, at least with experience. Tulum used to be this quiet, sleepy little stretch of sand. It literally, there was just nothing there. And then now, it's completely transformed. Well, I wouldn't say completely. Still, it retains that kind of feel. I don't know. They're different. They're totally, in my opinion, they're two completely different experiences. I wouldn't say that they're, the only thing that they share is that they're both trendy. Honestly, and especially Tulum's tropical, Ibiza's Mediterranean. Those are two totally different climates.
Okay.
And Tulum has a problem with this seaweed that's constantly washing up on the shore. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's like a plague. So all the beaches are covered with this seaweed. It's 2 feet thick everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was in Playa del Carmen last summer, and it was a daily thing that the locals or the hotel workers would go out and clean all the seaweed off the beaches. And it's ugly and stinky, and it's a problem. And then Ibiza doesn't have any of those problems, but it has its own problems. It's also super seasonal. It's incredibly busy July, August. Great time to visit is September or June. I've even been there in October for late closing parties. And they're just different. They're different, but they're both really special places for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I know some of my artists went down and were playing that, and kind of people like, oh, it's there, but it was one of those only places that was open in the world that was really doing anything too, that was allowing things to go on. So, wow, I didn't know you had a history going back that far to Tulum. Interesting.
Yeah.
But you also,
so this is, you might find this interesting. My family, I was actually raised in Mexico for the first 5 years of my life. So we lived near there, up the highlands, up in Chiapas and San Cristobal de las Casas. It's like a little colonial town, and it's at almost 8,000 foot elevation. And it's actually really popular now as a trendy kind of backpacker destination. So we would go back. We lived there in the 70s, and we would go back in the summers and And so that's how I ended up in Tulum. So, in the 80s was because I used to live in Mexico. And then, yeah, with Ibiza, I started going, because I was dating a girl who was obsessed with going there. And then I did my first gig there in 2003. So that has I went there more for work reasons initially. And then it became more for like, this is just a great place to go,
Wow, you definitely do have a history going there then. Okay. That's actually the most I've heard, other than people visiting it, the most I've heard in a conversation about Tulum. So thank you for that. That was very helpful to know if I ever decide to go there. And you've been doing a lot of other stuff over the last year. When was the album Genesis? When was the official release date of Genesis? When did that come out?
Oh, that's a gotcha question because I don't know. I can't remember, but it was sometime in September, I think, of last year.
Okay, cool. And what was the thought on the thought process behind Genesis? The title is that a theme of the album? Was that a rebirth for you coming out, or a startup for you again? What was the premise behind that album?
That's good. Those are great questions. For me, it was just about returning to my roots as an artist. I've been doing this for a while, and so I've gone through various different iterations of my career, and I felt like I just wanted to go back to that place where kind of the inspiration came in the first place. So that was that's what prompted that.
I recently asked this to a few people because it was just this gentleman's birthday a couple weeks ago, Carl Cox's birthday on July 29th, and he recently turned 60 years old. And one question I ask people is on the show,
wow, he's 60 now?
Damn. He's 60 years old now, and I ask people, do you see yourself DJing at the age of 60, and two, what do you think the retirement age is for DJs? Because we really haven't seen DJs retire, except I was talking to a DJ yesterday, and he said the people that I've seen retire usually retire or leave the game because, number one, family obligations. They can't go out on the road. They can't be on tour going all over the place and kind of leave one parent at home with just the kids while they're going all over. So that's one of the primary reasons why they retire. But is there an actual one? Let's go after question one. Would you still be DJing at the age of 60?
You mean like, well, I'll tell you why Carl Cox is still DJing at the age of 60, because he makes millions of dollars, and why would you walk away from that? And the reality is that most people retire in this game, in this kind of entertainment industry, because there's just there's no work for them anymore. So yeah, or the work is like so incredibly sparse that it's not enough to, like you said, support their families or something.
Correct. Yeah, I could definitely see that coming into play. Because a follow-up question, one of those questions I do have in my repertoire is, success doesn't last forever. So as an artist, what do you do, or what does an artist do to save up when the pool of, when it dries up, or the next big thing is out? Or if you're a house DJ and they're playing break beats, or they're playing tech house, or it goes to trance and that's the hot thing and you're not booking any gigs anymore, how do you stay relevant in the industry to keep earning that paycheck if you're not a producer, which a lot of people are producers nowadays too?
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think it's an inevitability that you're going to not be relevant at some point. Everyone is, it's just, everyone has an expiration date in this business. And
I don't have an expiration date.
Yeah, but you're not a performer, DJ, producer. And also the desire, a lot of guys and women, people like performers of all different walks of life are, they have this axe to grind with, I think, when they come into it, and they're just like really ambitious, and they're just like, I'm going to do this at all costs. And then after a while, sort of, they soften a bit to that. And, it becomes more like a job, and it can become routine. And then, like you said, the trends are always changing. And um, I'm not, so at this point in my career, I'm not in it to like uh, get some new, accolade or award or make money even, or be recognized for my work. I'm literally only in it for my personal satisfaction. Like, that's the only reason I do this at all anymore.
Yeah, and that's, I see a lot of people as they have a longer career in the industry that they now do it for what makes them have fun, or it's not about the go chase the party or go chase the next gig or try to book that, 20 stage tour, 20 city tour. It's, I get to pick and choose what I want to do. I'm comfortable with what I got. They might have something on the side, or they might have started up a music academy. Tell us a little bit about the IO Music Academy.
Great segue there, Darren.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I started. I'm the founder of IO Music Academy in Los Angeles, and we opened in 2017, coming up on our 5th year. And for me, it was like when I had kids and just kind of slowed down my life. I wanted to have something here to bring the community, the creative community, together under one roof, like a physical place. Not unlike going to a record store back in the day, and you'd see other DJs and producers and hang out, and just learn and meet and enjoy the experience, walk home, go home with a couple of new records or something. So that was part of it. And then I don't know, I just love a challenge. And wow, did I careful what you wish for, because it has been really challenging and also rewarding. But I'm very proud of what we've done with it, and we're just kind of going from strength to strength. And of course, you always have new problems and new obstacles, but each one is like a proof that, oh wow, we're only here because because of our success, not because of our failures. And that's a really really fun and interesting life experience. So at the end of the day, like, I'm always gonna challenge myself to do something new and different. And I think for like just putting out records and DJing, I'd done that, proven that to myself that I could do that. I set a lot of goals in that, many of which I succeeded at. And I think I just was like, I want to do something that's challenging me in a different way, using a different part of my abilities and maybe discovering new abilities. But yeah, IO Music Academy now, since we're so established, so we're like able to really give back to the community. And that's like a huge, it was one of the motivating factors. And then bringing people together, like I mentioned. So we're doing some really neat stuff there. And if you're ever in LA, if anyone's watching from LA, feel free to get in touch. You come drop in. We do free classes sometimes. And we also obviously have our whole program that you can sign up for and learn how to make your own music and express yourself through music. I can't hear you.
Well, it reminds me when I first got started, I had to mute my microphone because I live on the worst last bastion of the street corners of downtown Seattle, which is the equivalent of Times Square in the shopping district.
Okay.
And so when I'm doing a live interview, or any interviews actually from the studio, and the police and fire engines and ambulances use 3rd Avenue to go up and down because it's the only thoroughfare where it's basically a two-way street. You can't do it on 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, or 6th. So they go right by my condo, right by my place every single day. And, it can get really loud in the background. And yeah, it's still fun. It's interesting living down here. We call it 3rd and Crime.
Wow.
Instead of 3rd and Pine.
Sweet.
Yeah, but anyways, I was gonna say back when I first got started, and I broke away to go do my own broadcast television series. One of the things that I went to school for, I was taking a video production class. Is when I first learned Final Cut Pro. And while I was in that class, I was going to school to learn how to run a company, get a business degree, transfer to UW, Foster's Business School, all yay, fun stuff. I came up with the idea that why couldn't I put a business plan together and make a training facility? And at that training facility, we would teach pre-production, production, post-production, Final Cut Pro. And then out of that school, we would hire the kids who graduate from that program to then become interns on our broadcast television series. And then after 3 months, if they completed that internship, we would hire them to work on our broadcast television series. And this is 2001. There's no YouTube. There's no online video. You had public access and you had broadcast television for distribution. And, I got my first television show picked up by Fox here locally in Seattle in 2002 roughly, and aired it in 2002. And that was going to be the premises, this whole Apple certified training facility where you're bringing in this raw, unnurtured talent who want to work in the industry, who cannot climb the ladder in the industry because of the catch-22. You need experience to get the job, but to get the job, you need experience, like kind of how that whole thing works. And, we really wanted to come out of the box and hit it hard. And this is before Apple had taken off with all the Apple retail stores as well. There were very far and few between Apple certified training centers, and ended up going to work for Apple later on and becoming one of 300 people in the world that could train people how to use the software. And that was still part of that business plan. Even then, we wanted to open the school. So and kind of make it like also a Kinko's-esque kind of training facility where people could come in and use our high-end computers for a very low price. So if you didn't have $50,000, well, now it's $50,000 to buy the top of the line Mac, but back then it was about $5 to $10,000 to get a decent Mac. But if you couldn't buy that, you could come to our school and rent one for $10-15 an hour and edit your video project on it and store it on our servers, or bring your hard drive in and plug it in and have access to these editing bays to start producing content, and rent gear from us as well, low cost gear. And we could also then bankroll your projects. We take pitches and say, let's pitch your project. Let's pitch your TV show to us, or pitch your short film to us. And we would help you make that and then distribute it. Whole big plan. So I've always been a big advocate of education, whether it's going to school just to figure out where you're going, or educating yourself in some way, shape, or form by going to the library and picking up a book. 98% of everything I've learned was probably because I just wanted to know more about something and went out there. And I made it a mission of mine before 2020 was that 98% of the information that I know, I would just give away freely, kind of consult and give away. So, I always had that passion. So I commend you on opening up something that is helping to leave a legacy. I think that is one of the biggest things you can do in life, is helping people attain. And you might just touch that right person, like my friend Giorgio, who I started all this with back when I was 18 years old, right out of high school. He's like, I may not be doing this anymore, but the 8 years you spent with me on public access kind of lit the fire under your ass to go do broadcast television, and then go do podcasting, and then live streaming. And now we're one of the top live stream DJ shows in the world. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of worked out well. And I hope I can be an inspiration or a teacher to somebody one day. So thank you for, making that happen. That's really awesome.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, and congrats on all your success as well. But it's, it's one of the, I guess for me, it was just sort of a natural progression. Like, I mentioned my family we were living in Mexico. My parents opened a language school there. So that's why we were there. So we were kind of like in the education game, I think, already. Just sort of, it was in my DNA in a way. Sadly, like my dad, he passed away 8 years ago. And he didn't live to even hear the concept that I wanted to open a school. But I really wish he could have seen it, because I think he would have been really proud, that like his son was able to carry that torch and do it in his own way. And yeah, so it's another one of those things. It's like you work really, really hard at it, just like with music, and you're never gonna get rich from it. But there's so many rewarding experiences from it, and I just really want to give back at this point in my career. I've been given so many things, and so many different promoters and fans and artists have contributed to what I've done, and I've benefited tremendously from it. And this is me just saying thank you and trying to return the favor.
And I got a great question from a viewer in the chat room right now from WS Denate. I hope this is right, because it fits right with what we're talking about. Should DJing be funded with government programs?
Should DJing be funded?
The actual art of DJing, or should it be offered in, like, I'm assuming I'm assuming they're offering like as a curriculum or as part of something that's in a process.
I mean,
probably DJ and producing goes part of it, I guess.
I think the government could do a lot to fund the arts in general. I think DJing is like it's sort of it's the gateway drug to music. So that's how a lot of people in the electronic music industry got started. It was as a DJ. So it'll only help the whole genre grow, So yeah, fund DJs, and then we have a DJ program at our school. So, cool. The problem is when the government funds things, there are like 1,000 pages of regulations that you have to abide by, and inevitably drives up the cost for people. So, the problem with that argument, or that, hey, let's fund DJing. Here's what would happen. The government would be like, here, we're going to announce this new initiative for schools to take government money to teach people how to DJ. But they have to meet all these criteria. And here's this list of documents that we've outlined that they have to meet. And it'll be like so cost prohibitive for a little school like ours to meet those criteria that we'll never be able to take the government money.
Funny.
And the schools that will charge $15,000 to $20,000 to make it worth their while, because they have to meet all those criteria, like all the reporting and the job placement and all that kind of trade stuff that goes into like trade vocational schools. So it's a nice idea. It would never work. But
I hear. What defines the term DJ for you?
Disc jockey. I mean, it's sort of an antiquated. It needs to be like selector or something more modern, doesn't it? Because I mean, I still play vinyl, but almost nobody DJs with vinyl. I don't know. The barrier to entry is so low now, Darren, that everyone can be a DJ on Spotify.
Except for me, I've never learned how to DJ in 30 years.
Well, I've got news for you. You can go download about 500 different apps on whether it's Google Play or the Apple Store right now, and you can learn to DJ for free on your device. So everyone can be a DJ now.
You can actually learn how to DJ in VR through Tribe right now if you want to. They give you 4 2000s and a 2000 mixer, I think, in there, and stream away. I'm a huge proponent of VR. We'll be talking about it in a little bit, but I still have never learned how to. I got Pioneer gear that I use for my shows. I can easily pick it up and play with it, but I have so much other stuff to do right now that just taking the time to look for tracks and then building that tracks, learning, and then I think I could learn how to beat match pretty easily. I know you're supposed to mix in key. Okay, I think I could get that down. But finding the tracks and then putting together a set, I think that would be the time-consuming thing that I have a girlfriend. I have a business. Two businesses I'm running. We just expanded to Phoenix, Arizona from Seattle as well. I'm like, I don't know if I could. I know too many DJs. Like you said, the barrier to entry is
it's good. Now. It's really good to stay in your lane too. So it's good to know your limitations.
Exactly. So, and how would you define success for as a DJ? Is it a Beatport top 10, a sold out tour, a Grammy nomination?
How do you find success? What with
How do you define success as a DJ? Would it be
as
a
a
beat
DJ?
as a
Well,
DJ?
everyone has their own goals for success.
Yeah,
So I think success is really, you know, measured. You know, it's kind of like how long is a piece of string, like that expression. So I don't know, like, what are your goals, and have you met them? And everyone's got their own sort of trajectories and their own ambitions and their own path to take and their own journey that they need to go on. So I just don't think there's like one size fits all answer to that question.
definitely. You made it all the way to being Grammy nominated. Was that a goal of yours back in 2000? I think it was 2011, correct?
Last one was 2014,
2014. Okay.
but that was a goal. I started submitting my music, my remixes. They started this new category called Best Remixer back in like 2001, I think, and
Okay.
I was friends with Tyler Stone. Still am friends. She's awesome. And in San Francisco, she was like one of the on the board or something at the local Grammy Recording Academy chapter, and was like told some of us like, hey, you should submit your tracks for consideration. That's how this game works. You have to submit it in order to be nominated. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, all right, I'll submit some stuff. So I started submitting tracks, and every year for a couple of years I would submit things, and then I kind of stopped because I was like, this isn't going to go anywhere. And then 2006, I got a text message from Sharam from Deep Dish. We had done
Wow.
some work together. I'd worked with DJ Beiruz for a couple of years. God bless his soul. He's struggling really hard right now. He had a massive stroke. I don't know if you're up to date on that. Back in Santa Barbara in February, and he's been recovering from that. But he and I used to work together, and so that's how. And so Sharam texts me. He's like, "Hey, I saw your album come up for consideration," because he was like he voted at his local chapter. There's 12 chapters. And I was like, what? That's crazy. So the Ohm Records submitted it on my behalf. And then it kind of got me back into that process. So then I started submitting my work again. And then eventually they invited me to be on the board in LA. So I started becoming part of that committee that votes on it. And 1 year I submitted a couple things, and one of them got nominated. And it's a dirty little secret that people get on this board, and they've banned this now. They don't do this anymore. And but it became like this sort of good old boys network, where producers would all get into a room and be like, here, check out my tracks. Essentially, there's like 300 submissions, but there's like 12 people in the room. So you're going to like take an extra listen to the people who are in the room. And I'm not saying I shouldn't have deserved those awards, those nominations, because I feel like they were really great music, but I don't think it hurt to have to be present in the room submitting my own work. I can't vote on my own work, but the other people in the room can. And I'm not part of the Recording Academy anymore because I just feel like the whole thing was like just so easily manipulated. And I'm not actually supposed to even share this information. I've signed NDA, but I'm doing it anyway because fuck them. But yeah, so I got a couple Grammy nominations. Woo. Yeah, I mean, those were success. Those were goals that I set. And once I learned, kind of like took a peek behind the curtain to see how it really works, I was like, this isn't really what I want to be a part of,
How many tracks do you produce or remixes do you produce in a month, and how many end up being released on average?
Well, I wouldn't say it's like a monthly thing. It sort of comes in fits and spurts, but I'd say, I don't know, I've probably released several maybe a couple hundred tracks and remixes. But I'm sure I've completed at least, I don't know, several thousand. So maybe like 10%, you know. So I've done a lot of work. I mean, look, I've been doing this for over 30 years. So you would hope that I've produced a few thousand records by now.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you average that out, if thousands, wow. Even if you were at 300 a year, that'd be 9,000.
Yeah,
100 a year, that's 3,000.
That'd be a track a day almost. I would no way have I been that prolific ever. But yeah, let's say if I've been doing it for 30 years and I did 1,000 tracks divided by 30, that's 30 a year. Yeah, sure.
Have you ever done any scoring for any films?
I haven't. No. Mm-mm.
If you could score a Hollywood movie, which director would have your preference? Who would be the top one you'd say want to work with that person?
There's so many great film producers out there.
Pick three. Make it harder. I think.
Well, like, I mean, some of the best showrunners in the business are like David and Dan. You know, they produced David Benioff and Dan. Oh God, what's his last name? Game of Thrones. The showrunner.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Game of Thrones. But then they had like a whole like cohort of directors that they worked with. But they kind of set the table and created like the parameters, and then the directors had to work within those. So, you know, most directors these days don't really get like that much say in the overall, like they're a hired gun, just like the actors and the musician, or, you know, everyone else on the production. So, I don't know. There's just there's so many great, you know, there's so much great content being produced right now. It'd be really tough to say. It's really not, I'm like a fan of TV and film, but I've never really kind of saw myself collaborating in that environment because it's a very different game. And I really don't know. I couldn't answer that question with much authority, unfortunately.
Yeah, one of the things we're looking at doing here with the DJ sessions is we're going to be starting our own label next year, the first part of next year. We're really excited to do that. And I kind of know what you mean about entering a realm that I know nothing about. I've been in film and television and internet distribution and basically video production and working with artists and doing interviews and live streams and putting on events, and putting on this whole label aspect over here is going to be kind of a new, interesting take on the direction of where we want to go. And even just the questions come in and like that I ask myself is like, what genre are we going to produce? Are we going to take submissions? Is it only our tracks? Do our residents get first pick? You know, do we take it's going to be a very interesting ball of wax to come on. So I can understand about kind of understanding that, you know, you're in kind of the entertainment side of things, but going in, I mean, it is movies and it is entertainment, but going into scoring is, you're kind of more on that back end producing for film and television. But interesting enough. What was the weirdest moment you ever heard one of your own songs play?
One of the weirdest moments I don't understand, like, that I ever heard my song play. What does that mean?
You ever heard one of your tracks play? Like if you were out and about somewhere and all of a sudden, like you're in Target and one of your tracks starts coming over the system or in an elevator or.
It's hard to say. I mean, there have been plenty of retail shops where I've heard my music, and that it's always kind of surreal. I remember hearing, just for some reason this memory's coming to me, but being at a hotel in Sydney and just going into the elevator and literally my music is playing. I'm like, oh great, now I'm making elevator music, I guess. It's the ultimate compliment. I don't know why that memory sticks out. Yeah, there's I don't know. There's been a lot of them. None of them have been incredibly bizarre or weird, unfortunately. They're all pretty normal.
And do you handle your own promotions, or do you have a PR person that you work with? Do you do your own
Yeah,
socials? Tell
I
us about
don't actually stop doing my own socials earlier this year. I deleted Facebook and Instagram from my phone and have been very happy with that decision. So now my manager, Jeff Berger, does that on my behalf. Another reason why all the Ibiza stuff is only now being posted, because I was just taking footage and then I gave it to him when I got back. But no, for the album, for Genesis, we hired Lollip PR out of the UK. They did all our promotion, and they were great. But no, you know, I don't know. I've kind of stepped away from that, and I've be taken on more of like a managerial role, I guess, where I'm like, coordinating between. I can't take credit for it. Jeff Berger does most of that, but he consults with me and then we decide like what the best course of action. But he does all the implementing. He's awesome. But yeah, we don't really do a lot in-house. We outsource it.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, is it Layla's appearance that will be her only social media appearance ever?
Oh, my dog? Well, I used to post pictures of her like all the time because before I had kids. And then sadly, since I had kids, she doesn't get the love that she used to. But she's my firstborn. What am I going to say? She's amazing. She's a 12-year-old little pup, mutt, that I've just has brought so much joy to my life. She's amazing.
And you mentioned, she used to take up a lot of your attention, and now you focus your attention on other places. How do you balance your career with your other obligations in life? Do you have a pretty good hold on it now after doing this for so long? You kind of know my time is slotted, or is it still kind of like, you get a good balance?
It's really challenging when you have a family. Mm-hmm. My wife has been super supportive. She has her own career to juggle with that as well, and we have some help. We have some domestic help here, not full time, so that's been helpful. But juggling all of that with like my music and IO Music Academy and the podcast, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. It's hard. You just have to create schedules and try to do your best to stick to them. And that's what I've learned, is that time is incredibly precious. And I have to be really smart about how I delegate my own kind of, obligations.
Definitely. I don't think it wasn't until 2000 that I actually felt like putting the DJ sessions was like my baby. And even just putting somebody in charge of sending emails out, I kind of was like, they're going to say something wrong? Is something going to come back? But once I got over that hump of hiring my first assistant to help me out, I not only hired another virtual assistant, I got a person who does PR for me out of the UK. I now have a web dev team. I have a mobile app team. I got a VR team. And I've realized now that I've exponentially been able to grow because I've been able to kind of outsource a lot of my work and do my to-do list, and to where now I actually get to have a life. I'm not working, from sometimes 7 a.m. till 2 a.m., 5 to 6 days a week, trying to do everything myself. And was almost setting myself, I burnt myself out a number of times in the past. I could see it being kind of even a detriment to relationships that I was in, because I was always on the go, work. Because, you're that struggling artist and you want to make things happen. But I'm glad things have now kind of settled down for me in the sense of getting things in order and finding that work-life balance. I think it's very important for artists to understand that, especially in the industry, in the side of the industry we're in, where it is kind of a party environment, or you finish your show and it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, and you got to sleep for 4 hours and bounce and get a flight out at 10 a.m. or to go to the next city, and that could be a 6 hour flight, and then you got to get into that city, and the gambit. But it sounds like you got a pretty good light work-life balance going on there. I did want to mention, I'm glad you brought it up, the Origins podcast series. Are these all done on location?
Well, they kind of have to be. I mean, yeah, they're definitely done on location. And it's really, I started doing them over the, pandemic because I just wanted an outlet, a creative outlet. And we've shot 3 of them, released 2 of them. I had ambitions to do like monthly ones with guests, and I'd been talking to like Doc Martin and some other DJs about having them come on and do a guest, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on it. It's just such a huge commitment, as broadcast and creating content's really time and financially and time's intensive and then financially expensive. So I don't know. It was really cool to do them. I don't know how many more I'll do. It was really neat to like built a sound system with like spare. So I bought, actually you can see the speaker behind me. That is an older Serwin Vega, and I have 2 of them. And I installed a battery. I installed an amp in the speakers, and then built a battery pack to power it, so we could go out and run this pretty powerful, like loud sound system without a generator, just running off battery power. So that was part of it, and then also ran the decks off of battery power. The problem is that you kind of are limited by how much power is in the pack, and then eventually it dies after a couple hours. You can't do like a party or something. It'd be a pretty short party. But yeah, it was fun to do, and I'm really proud of the results, especially the mountains one. I think it turned out really, really good. They were all shot like here in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I live like right next to Angeles National Forest. Like I live in Glendale, so I live in a city, just like a normal city. But then 20-minute drive and you're up in like conifer ponderosa pines and 7,000 foot altitude. It's nuts. Like a 20-minute drive and you're at 7,000 feet. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I wanted to kind of share that with people, like the majestic kind of nature of where we live. Southern California has such incredible geography. So yeah, it was, and also of course the music, digging through all my old records and finding, some inspiration there was really fun.
I definitely know the ins and outs of doing on location shoots. We do silent disco, silent concert events, and getting out into the parks, you're really not supposed to run a generator in a city park, and plus it can kind of make a lot of noise, even if you get a quiet generator. So luckily enough, when you do silent disco or silent concert, there's no amplified sound. So we take out the powered speakers out of the equation, and we're just powering, an RX2 and, and the transmitter, which are pretty much battery operated, and the headsets are battery operated on themselves that last for 10 hours. And so we went and got one of those big Duracell batteries from Costco, like $800. Or sometimes you get the Yetis. I think they're like $900. They're really cool. And it powered everything for a few hours. But I had a few of my friends who were trying to throw renegades using this thing. And like you said, they get about an hour and a half out of it and it's done.
Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole with like electronics and resistance and stepping different voltages up and down, and started building like my own because these are only 100 watts each, these amplifiers per channel. So but I found these amplifiers. One was 750 watts per channel, and it needed 72 volts. So I bought 6 12-volt batteries, two pairs of and then wired them in series, so it was 72 volts per channel, and then hooked it up, and the fucking thing didn't work. And then I remembered, like, oh well, I read somewhere you have to have capacitors to store the. Anyway, I didn't get past that stage, because then you have to buy these like transformers and capacitors, and those are expensive, those things. So I was looking at investing, a couple $1,000 just to build these amps, and I was like, this is just, I don't know. And then the world kind of started to open back up again, and I decided,
the first go around, our first battery system was golf cart batteries, and I had 4 of them. They were all 6 volts a piece, but if you put 2 of them together, we would have, put them in series, you get 12 volts, and but all done up, and that would last for a little while. And I had a little inverter, like a 350 watt inverter on that, and that could power our DJ gear. And but then you drop a laptop on, and that's 85 watts, and then you got 41 watts from the board, and then you got this, and after everything got on it, you're running like 200 watts, and it just you need like
100 amp hour battery to power that. Kind of. The batteries I bought they're 20 amp hours each. They're 12 volts. So if I wired them in parallel and used 12 volts, then I could have gotten 200 amp hours out of them. But the problem is, if you're converting from 12 volts to 120 volts and using just like standard amplifiers that would work anywhere, the voltage conversion, the step down, is so insane that it creates a lot of resistance, which drains the batteries super fast. So, and then you need to use like 1 gauge or 0 gauge, even, like connectors, and all of that. It's just like, oh my god.
I feel your pain, Andy. I feel it, and then I think once I got my battery, then sometimes I'll just be like, forget it. We'll just run we'll put the generator out like 100 feet away on an extension cord and run it, and set some boards up and try to dampen it, but we get away with it. It's pretty fun stuff.
Nice. Cool.
Have you done anything or looked at doing anything in virtual reality?
I haven't. And I mean, I've looked into it, and I've seen like some of my friends do some cool stuff in there. It's interesting. Yeah, I've seen some cool sets in there. It's obviously everyone knows, like over the pandemic, it became super popular. It kind of died down a lot. So, I mean, I don't know. It'll come back, I'm sure, at some point. But it's not. I like reality rather than virtual reality. I'm all about the real experience.
Absolutely, and that's the one thing that I'm waiting for to come out. We actually just soft launched 2 nightclubs in alt space, entry and beta, and we're getting ready to grand open them here shortly, after doing a bunch of testing to make sure they all work out. But
that's cool.
You're right. I think what's going to be the real linchpin is augmented reality. And you got Facebook working on their glasses, you got Apple working on theirs. Google's going to come out with something. Microsoft probably has something to back in, and there's going to be a ton of other companies that are going to come out with this augmented reality experience where we, again, going back to that silent disco technology, one of the uses we're looking at doing it with, and I think nightclubs will get into this as well eventually, is I could have, you're familiar with silent disco technology, correct?
Of course. Yeah, totally. I've been to a couple of those parties, and some of my friends, do those. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So what we could do is, if somebody has their glasses on and they're listening to the red channel, they can look and see the stage with the red augmented experience, and then switch to the blue channel, green channel, orange channel, have this different augmented experience that would just be really awesome to be able to see. And you don't have to wear a big headset, like a big Oculus or anything to do that.
Right.
Still be there in the crowd.
It'll be interesting to see how that begins to be, integrated into our lives, for sure.
Yeah. And a couple last questions here. If someone wrote a biography about you, what do you think the title should be?
Man, be your authentic self.
Be your authentic self. The Andy Caldwell story. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know before we let you get going?
I think we've covered it all. I mean, appreciate you guys giving me some time to talk, and everyone hope everyone has a great day.
Yeah, we've had some great viewership today, so I thank you for coming on the series. And where's the best place people can go to find out more information about you?
Probably just go check me out on Instagram. Andy Caldwell. There it is, at Andy Caldwell. Yeah, I have a website, but haven't updated it in a minute, so maybe not the best place to go. But you can subscribe to my newsletter there. So if you want to, it's andycaldwell.com.
AndyCaldwell.com. All right, Andy, thank you again for coming on the DJ Sessions. Would love to stay in touch with you. Congratulations on the album, the school, the podcast series, everything you're going on, your career, and for being on the DJ Sessions with us today.
Cool. My pleasure, man. Have a good one.
Awesome. You as well.
Peace out.
Peace out. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Twitter, Twitch, all the places, all the socials. The best place to go is our website, thedjsessions.com. This is Darren. That's Andy Caldwell coming in from LA. I'm in Seattle for the virtual sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.